All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the Monday Night Football Showdown show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Giants, Steelers, going to break it all down. Lots to talk about here. Captains, roster construction, ownership, position by position, FanDuel, and more. Got my guys Hoopster and Title here with me as always. If you haven't had a great week yet, I know lots of members over at the Nation did, but you still got time to get it done. Week 8, let's make it great. Hoopster, bring you in here first, man. Giants, Steelers, fun one tonight to round out week 8.
Yeah, another one of these games that look not super exciting, but, you know, as always, big prize pools around the industry. We're going to talk through it, see what we can find. You know, the Pittsburgh, they're favored by like 6.5 in this game. Giants have been an absolute train wreck recently. Pricing on DK at first glance looks relatively soft, but I guess it would be hard to justify putting big price tags on some of these names. So, you know, we'll go through, break it all down, see if we can get to the winner circle tonight.
Yeah, Title, I'll bring you in before I go to the chat. But, like, man, I always say it. I'll give you my thoughts on the slate. I will have to be talked into something tonight. It's just really tricky. There's, you know, the Tracy Singletary stuff, the Najee Warren stuff, and all that. It can make for some uniques, but it can also make for just a tough one to build out from and picking your captains and all that stuff. We'll do our best to break it all down. But how you doing, my friend? How was your week so far?
Yesterday wasn't great. I got some back on the showdown, but main slate a little tough. Needed a couple pieces. The Cedric Tillmans of the world, A-Chain at a solid. Kate Otten, National Tight End Day. Oh my goodness, human psychology. That was one of
the best part is we shit on it during the show, and then as soon as the slate starts, these mofos are going off. I was like, man, I wish I could retract some of those words.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, I mean, what? It's Theo Johnson and Pat Freiermuth going to keep it up today? I don't know. It's not a fun game. 36.5 total, 6-point favorites, 2 bad quarterbacks, but it's a lot of money up top, and that's all that matters. So hopefully we can get up there.
Yeah, let's get after it here. We got Go Collect, Sean, Nate, Alan, our guy Tweezy all in there. Redfish Nick came in and said, finally caught a live show. I know it's an old joke, but did Grandma ever get her wheelchair? Hoop, forget the wheelchair, like I always say. But should we do the giveaway today? Come up with something for the double D and then double the giveaway if he shows up himself, 3/4 through the way of the show. What do you want to give away today? Let's do a giveaway.
Yeah, we'll do a membership or a ticket. Well, let's ask the chat. Actually, no, we can't really ask the chat because if it's a member, they're going to want a ticket. If it's a non-member, they're going to want a membership.
I think let's do a ticket. Yeah,
okay. What's the contest? Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up on there.
Tonight's slate? Yeah, what's for tonight's slate?
Obviously, I have the Millie Maker, but it's got to be something a little bigger. What's the single entry? Let's see. The single entry will do $100 single entry, so $100 winner.
Okay, here's the contest, and yes, never forget, Hoop does still owe us a shoey. Shout out Kenny for that. We're getting his ass soon. This is bullshit, but listen to this: $100 single entry ticket giveaway tonight. The game is simple. If you're new or old, you'll especially know it. And we'll give away a month membership as well. We'll give away 2. Let's pick 2. A month membership, all access, the $85 a month, or and a $100 single entry. We'll pick. But let's do this. The guy Double D used to be in the chat. This is the fun in it. He's disappeared on us this season. We have not seen Double D the entire season yet. He used to be there for every single showdown show, telling us about hand building his lineups at the factory. He'd have some weeks we would wager. Does he have half them done, all of them done? What's the over-under? Playing prices right with it. Let us know your best response to what you think happened to our guy Double D that used to hand build his lineups in the factory and show up no matter what. Let's give us
the factory, or was he the crane operator?
He was factory. There's a Travis something was in the
crane.
That's still around. He's Canadian.
Yeah, Travis still around, but I could have sworn Double D was also a crane. I guess maybe.
No, that was him.
No, that was the other. We had a lot of people around last year, but that was the one. Title, we'll get to it, man. Let's hop right in. Let's get your grand scheme overview here, and then you can take us into sort of the captains and how you're thinking about it from there.
grand scheme overview, very mispriced running back on the Giants side. I don't know if DraftKings still thinks Devin Singletary was the starter. He's priced like it at 8,400, but even though he came back after injury, Tyrone Tracy kept the starting role. He is 4K less at 4,400. Big misprice right away to start it off. After that, obviously it's a low total, which is going to put Pittsburgh Steelers defense, two bad quarterbacks. People like picking on Danny Dimes. I think Steelers defense is going to be pretty highly owned. That is just going to be the main skill position, guys. If you look at the stone right now, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver 1 on the Giants, will get a good amount of ownership. George Pickens on the Steelers, wide receiver 1, will get a good bit of ownership. Wan'Dale Robinson, he looks very fairly priced, a great full point PPR guy for DraftKings. Fair price tag at 7,800. Not much competition in that area. Again, Singletary's 600 more, Jalen Warren 400 less. I have a little interest in, but both backup running backs. The tight ends, I mean, Fryermuth's priced up a little bit at 62. I still think he gets some ownership. I do think tight ends probably catch a little steam after yesterday. So that's an interesting point. As far as my favorite captains, I mean, Tyrone Tracy's by far the most mispriced, and you can do a lot with him when you do play him up top. You can leave a bunch of salary. You can run 5-1s. There's a lot of different scripts you can go there. They are 6-point dogs, though, and I do think Singletary will probably work in a little more than last week. So I think I prefer him in the flex. I'll have some at captain. By far, my two favorite captains, George Pickens. He looked good with Russ. Russ threw it up a bunch to him. He's a big play guy in a game that's not supposed to score many points, and scoring can be at a premium. I want guys that I know have that 20-plus point upside to break it. It's Pickens right there. It's Neighbors. Neighbors does feel, if I had to leave off one, though, up top, man, he's expensive at captain, 15,000. I'm going to play some, but I do prefer Pickens. I think I prefer Wan'Dale for a good bit less owned. I'm going to play Najee. It's gross, but one of the best touchdown props on the slate. Nobody is expected to score. Najee is the best, though, at plus 105. I'll let you talk about the quarterbacks. I think I'm going to play them both because they have rushing upside, a low-scoring game. Pricing's fair. They can both spread it out a little bit, so I guess I just talked myself into some. But I don't think Danny Dimes is good, and I don't think Russell Wilson's very good. But I
don't think very many people on this slate at all are good. I'll have some more takes on the quarterbacks. I think there's a different angle to look at for this slate when we get there, but some good ones coming in. Maybe, Hoop, if you got some early ones you like. But just real quick before you do that, I do want to know, just so everybody knows, this is the setup here. The membership we're talking about giving away is the $85. That's still on if you want to go get signed up. It's everything we offer. Shiptimizer for the 6 sports, 8 major sports across the board. MLB about to round out, but we are still covering it for Showdown. And then I am running the dry run over here on this side, Hoop. But if there's any comments you see early that you want to flash up, by all means, go ahead.
Yeah, this is definitely a good one. Double D's OSHA violations. Building lineups while driving the forklift. He got a DWHB violation, driving while hand building. I like that one.
Putting the acronyms on them and everything.
Yeah, that's definitely good. I mean, it's a tough slate. I mean, it could end up being like a raw points sort of slate, like 20 fantasy points could be the guy that you need in the captain spot. Wide receivers always have the advantage. So guys like Pickens, Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson in a trailing game script, and then you have like the underpriced, like really underpriced Tyrone Tracy Jr., like we talked about at $4,400. Like you could potentially play him up top and then just get 5 guys that are needed on this slate. The quarterbacks, I guess a little more interest in Russell Wilson. It's life comes at you fast. I mean, I've shit on this guy since I started doing DFS fantasy shows, maybe, 12 years ago, 10 years ago. And now I'm potentially recommending him as a play. I mean, I guess he looked pretty good, a few rush attempts. The Jets might not be a very good team, so who the hell knows? But I think he's in play up there. Daniel Jones has looked like complete shit, and Steelers defense probably pretty good. I mean, it's got to be one of the more difficult spots for an opposing team to come in and score points. In Pittsburgh, primetime game. I'm assuming some chilly weather. So I don't know about Daniel Jones, but an interesting talking point is a guy like Devin Singletary, who has a real price tag, but a pretty relatively low projection. But yeah, let's talk through the dry run and see what we get.
Yeah, I will in a sec. Singletary, the Garindo, quite different, I would say. This is an actual situation here where we got, priced up, yeah, but I don't think it's anything like last night. That was obviously needing a lot of things to go your way for that to get there, but it happens. I saw another one here that made me laugh too. Is this even a thing anymore? Said he dropped everything to play on Super Draft. He doesn't need us anymore. Is that site still around? Not to make fun of other sites, but we don't ever hop on here and promote random sites just to get the affiliate deals and stuff. Pretty proud of that, to be honest. So I'm not sure if they're still kicking it, but that's interesting if that's where our guy Double D ended up. I was trying to see if there's any others here. Hit the 10-leg parlay and is now residing in the Caribbean islands. Yeah, that's what seems to be the ultimate thought. But this is the dry run. George Pickens up top, Tracy, who Title mentioned earlier. Obviously, if he keeps that share up, like with Singletary coming back last week, the tough part is to know if that share is going to stay that way because another week healthier and maybe he gets another shot. Malik Neighbors, 16%. Pretty spread out on these four. Russell Wilson, then it actually goes to the Steelers D and sort of drops down from there. Let me see if there's any others. Daniel Jones hops in there as well. So top five are Pickens, Tracy, Wilson, Neighbors, Jones. Hoop, any other additional thoughts when you see it that way?
Yeah, I think when you just run it, yeah. I mean, the defense is going to pop up. I mean, you look at it and they're, I don't know, in terms of projections, like somewhere in the 8 to 10 range in terms of where they stand, like just raw projections on this slate. So they'll start to show up in teams if you don't make that adjustment. Yeah, I mean, kind of what I expected, I would say. Yeah, I like pulling up the flex and seeing if anything's out of line there. And I would say not really. Can you scroll down like a little bit more on there just to see if there's, yeah, on the flex guys going down. What is Calvin Austin? What's it? Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, that's not too crazy. So nothing really out of whack. So yeah, if you can go back, click back on the captains.
Speaking of Double D week, by the way, Double DST.
Oh, okay.
You are looking for, maybe it's a sign that we're talking about.
Maybe it's a sign. Yeah, maybe it is a sign. So yeah, nothing too crazy stands out here on the initial dry run. I mean, kind of what we expect. So
it's what you said, though. I will say this because it's tying together everything you said, at least how I interpret it. Sometimes when we watch and listen to each other, we get ideas. But what you said is probably true, right? The optimizer is going to look based on raw projections and think around these raw points. Pickens, Tracy, Wilson, Neighbors, D. Jones, pretty obvious. And because we have Tracy at 4,400, who when you're not using it captain, you can just jam him in the flex. I believe we're getting almost 85% or something of Tracy total. So it's just jamming him in. When you have him, it allows you to fit all these guys and not really need, even though you're getting 28% Austin, that just fills in some of the spots you don't get Tracy. Again, a dry run, but I think you nailed it, Hoop. It's just going to play for that. I think Nades mentioned earlier too, made a good point, is if you want to play for points, like there's a 36.5 point total. If you want to play for 50 points, you'll get a little bit different look probably, right? You'll still get a lot of these guys because of the pricing, but you may get a little bit of a different lineup build there. Anything else, Hoop, that you want to add?
Just the one thing I was going to add on, it's like if you just go in here and don't put anything in, like you're going to get a ton of Tracy. You're going to get Tracy in the captain. You're going to get him in the flex. I mean, he's the standout, best value on the slate, and everyone's going to see that. So without making adjustments, you're going to be loaded up on Tracy tonight. Yeah,
I think that's possible as well. And then a lot of people are looking for Boswell captain tonight. I certainly think that's a possibility as well. So I have to look and see. Not getting much of them in a dry run, but again, it's all how you cap this stuff. You may not want 30% Pickens up top. Maybe you do. I'm just saying, but if you don't, and you cap that, the guys down here that you see at 4, 2, 1, 1, and Boswell fits in there just under 1, they're all going to start to pop up a little bit as well. Title, any thoughts on it for you?
What are you doing with I rarely ever play kickers captain. I'm not going to do it today. Defense, I hate to do it as well. Steelers are going to get ownership, like maybe 5%, 6%. What are you doing there? I definitely prefer the skill position players, even the Slaytons of the world, Calvin Austins of the world, Van Jefferson. Like, I'm going to take a shot. I know I prefer the skill position players that are lower owned, but defense, especially Steelers. What are you doing, captain?
Yeah, I'm probably just going to have sprinkles. Like, I'm going to be heavier on these 4 or 5 captains that it's showing. It's just tons of, it's to a big gamble tonight on a lot of this stuff, really, when you look at it, because the Tracy versus single, I know we'll get there and we go position by position, but Tracy versus Singletary, what's the real split? Is it a Najee night? Is it a Jalen Warren night? Sorry, Jalen Warren's priced up as well, realistically, but has more upside, you think, or a bigger ceiling possibly. if he gets there. More explosive is a better way to put it. Kind of like how Hoop put Gibbs yesterday, and sure enough, he was. Things like that. But you have Darnell Washingtons, you have Theo Johnsons, you have these Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin III. So there is other value plays and things to make it work where you can just play the good captains, leave money, and or just use some of these lower owned plays down below to get different. So I don't think I'm going to do much more beyond a sprinkle. I don't see anything that tells me like, oh, I need to go heavy Boswell at the captain tonight. Just not for me right now.
Yeah, that's my lean. And I make, I'm usually between 30, 60 teams. I probably will X both defenses and kickers captain. I do think Steelers D gets steamed. I mean, they're a good play, obviously. Danny Dimes stinks. It's a low total. Their Giants are supposed to score, 15 points? That's an awful – they're talking about leaving their left tackle on an island with TJ Watt all game, or the lineman wanted that. I mean, good luck there. I don't expect that to actually be their game plan. But, yeah, to wrap it out, both quarterbacks, Pickens, Neighbors at his price tag. He's the one I've the least amount. I mean, I'm going to play him, of course. His target share is insane, but Danny Dimes can hardly get him the football. I think the Steelers will be focusing on him. He's going to be owned. I think I'd rather take Wandale or Slayton, they're all three of them are almost playing 100% of snaps, so I'm not worried about that. Taking the ownership and the price discounts, then you have more flexibility after that. So, yeah, I'm going to keep the captain pool pretty tight, I think.
Yeah, I'll come back to you in a second there, Hoop. Just one quick thing on the quarterbacks I said I would discuss, and that's realistically the setup there is just it's not just that they have a little bit of rushing upside, not that they have a bunch. Obviously, random games and one-offs, they can. Russ does his old run out and slide. Danny Jones does his run all the way down the field, trip and fall. We've all seen that. But they have opportunity, but it's actually more because of how they spread it out and how hard it can be to get that right on a slate like this. Like if you're stacking Danny Jones in the captain and you're putting two of Tracy, Neighbor, Singletary, Robinson, Slate, and Theo Johnson. There's so many guys that he can move it around to. So you could actually get away with like a Daniel Jones in the captain, Neighbors in the flex, and just one more guy floating through there if it's a 3-3 build, or you could even do some 2-4s and just hope that it is Russ and his crew in the flex, but Danny Jones does the most. He's that raw points guy that Hoop was talking about, and it's, a little bit to Neighbors where he's needed still in the flex, but not enough to the other cheapies that you need to have them all. So same thing on the Steelers side, Russ, Warren, Harris, Pickens, Austin, Van Jefferson, Freiermuth, and that's not even naming like the Washingtons and Millers and guys of the world. So that's why I don't have any problem playing them up top. I think that's when you want these guys, and it's perfect for a showdown slate. So I'll definitely have quarterback captains up top. Hoop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Russ. I think I'm going to pass on Daniel Jones. Like, I just don't think he's very good. Tough spot. Steelers defense. I don't know, man. Daniel Jones is so bad. He's just terrible. And it just reminds me of week one when we sat around on this show, not this show, the Sunday morning show, and talked ourselves into Daniel Jones. All three of us didn't have much interest coming in on the show. And then we talked ourselves into Daniel Jones, and I played a lot and I watched him. I'm like, man, that was a pretty poor decision. This guy fucking sucks at football. So probably out on Daniel. And I know he did show up on a Millie Maker team not too long after that.
He's been on more Millie Maker winners on main slates than Patrick Mahomes over the last 80.
Well, good thing this is a showdown slate because I don't have much interest.
If you win a main slate, though, he should be able to win a showdown slate for you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're right. But I don't know. I don't have much interest there. The wide receivers, Neighbors, Pickens, Russ, Najee, that'll be my main core most likely. And then Wandale. I think Wandale is perfect for a trailing game script. If you think the Giants are playing from behind in this game, which if you believe in the line, it indicates that they're 6-point underdogs. I think Wandale could rack up a ton of targets. So that'll be my core group. I guess Daniel Jones will be the big, fade for me potentially up top. Not in flex. Definitely playing him in flex, but I don't think I'll play him in captain.
Do you see this too, Title? Danny Jones, just incredible on the road this season. Horrible at home. He's actually better when he goes on the road. So maybe it's the opposite of the old, what was it, the Ben Roethlisberger narrative? If he goes on the road, you got to watch out. He's up to no good the night before. But if he's at home, he's kept in check. What about that with Danny Jones? Any more thoughts there?
No, I haven't heard the name Ben Roethlisberger in a long time, but I think the sample's so small. He's not good at the road or at home. So I'm playing him because none of these, like you said, I think you played it out perfect. None of these guys are really that good in this game. Neighbors is good, Pickens is good. I think Slayton and Wandale are fine, but they got to get the ball. So
Yeah, that could be true as well. The Giants fans hate him more than the opposing fans do. That's probably true. All right, cool. Let's move on. Hoop, I'll go to you. Anything else at quarterback? If not, that kind of rounded it out. You can take us into running back and how you decipher it on this slate, because it's a bit tricky on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the one that stands out is Najee Harris. I mean, another guy that, I mean, man, these Steeler guys I've crapped on for years, Russ and Najee, and now, comes full circle, obviously, on Showdown, where you have to consider some of these guys. But Najee is clearly in the best spot, coming off a solid performance, got the touchdown late and was needed. I think they're on prime time last week. 9,200. Like, price isn't really a factor on the slate, just because everything's going to look like you don't want to click it because of the price, but you're going to have to click somewhere. So definitely interested in him at 92. Jalen Warren, not as in. I mean, I like Jalen Warren when they're playing from behind, not playing with the lead. And if you think the Steelers are playing with the lead here, you should play a lot of Najee. If you think they're playing from behind, you should probably play some Jalen Warren. But I definitely prefer Najee over Warren. And Warren, to me, I just don't necessarily love in this game. We already talked about Tyrone Tracy a little bit. 4,400, I'd say one of the biggest misprice, or is the biggest misprice on the slate. But that's coming with big time ownership, and there's a low floor on the Giants today. The Steelers are kind of rolling a little bit here. Monday Night Football, the Giants look like shit. Like, there's an outcome where they just get their ass kicked and all these guys kind of bust. But at 4,400, definitely got to consider Devin Singletary is an easy fade. At 84, I'll definitely will not be clicking that name. And then, none of these other dudes are in play. So it's Najee Harris, like, by far for me. Tracy, from Harris to Tracy gap, from Tracy to Warren gap, and then I'm not playing anyone else in terms of the running backs.
Title, how do you got it? That's a good breakdown from Hoop there, but I just think similar. So what's your thoughts at running back?
Tracy for sure, number one. I mean, so our ownership right now is, and probably industry ownership is too light. What do you think it gets to in the flex?
50?
50? Well,
45 to 50 range, I think. And I mean, obviously, like the higher stake stuff, he's going to be way up there. Yeah. And that one, maybe it is like around 4. What do we have it at?
29, but
it's coming up. Yeah, it's going to be.
I think it's too low across the industry right
for
now.
Sure.
But to what steam? Yeah, like that's the question. The ownership game. If he's 45%, I would prefer Najee and Warren more, because I mean 50% is a lot for a running back. He's the starting.
It's a low floor play, man. It's still a low floor play.
Yeah, they're implied for very little points. Singletary came back after injury, so it made sense for Tracy to get it. I still do expect Tracy to be the starting running back. I think he looked better at the eye test. He's younger. They drafted him. Like, Singletary's getting older. He's a vet. It all makes sense, but he still has to do something. I don't know. If it was like 35%, maybe even 40%, I'm going to play Tracy. I will say I like Warren a little more than Najee because of that 12% ownership gap we have on a slate that it's a little hard for me to get difference. I'm going to play Najee. I'm going to play Warren. You can play both together. This game, if not many points are scored, both of them fall in the box once. That could be enough where both of them are in the winner. People don't like, especially hand building, playing those two together. That's something that I definitely will be doing. I know pricing is up there, but if Daniel Jones gets you 10, why can't those guys get you 11 or 12, et cetera? If both of them are running touchdowns, Russ isn't throwing them, Pickens isn't catching them, stuff like that. Singletary, I would need a lot of teams to probably get to Singletary. It makes sense. It's all the game theory leverage, but man, at that price tag, 8,200 or 8,400, good luck there. So, it's really the Tracy. You didn't say anything about ownership, Tambo, but what do you think he comes in flex? And then what would be too high for you where you'd want to be under?
I just take what I get. Like, I don't think it's going to matter too much, but I think he gets closer to 40 for sure. Like, we just did a first run here, and we've got him almost at 30. It's just he's too cheap. People are going to believe in the price, the setup, the spot, all that stuff. They're still going to play him no matter what. So it's going to get even higher.
If you just run stuff and don't change anything, you're going to get probably 15 to 20% in the captain, and then you're going to get another 60 in the flex. So you're talking potentially 80% of your lineups with these guys. So
we literally just did it. The dry run. We got 17% and 67. So we got 84%.
In
our lineups. He's going to
go. So I mean, that's the reason why he's going to be much higher owned than we're showing, or the industry. Everyone in the industry is around that 30 to 35% number. It's going to be much, much bigger than that, just because when people blindly run teams, which a lot of people do, you're just naturally getting a massive chunk of this guy. Massive.
Yeah. So I think that is the one side of it. And then the other thing too, is just looking at the overall grand scheme of things. It's like, I was looking ahead. So Steelers have a bye week coming up, I think. So they're just going to lay it all out there. They get a whole 2 weeks rest after this. And then the Giants have to play the Commanders on a short week, a division game coming up. So Title, do you look at anything at all like that, or just think about, I guess the only reason I'm bringing it up, it's not narratives or anything. We've seen this happen plenty of times and had good thoughts behind it, but running back usage, like, do you think the Giants give a shit because they're already the worst anyway in their division? So just play Tracy, play whatever, or do they look at it like, well, we can just use Singletary more this week and hold Tracy up some? Or do you think there's any thought process around that with the game they have upcoming? Anything at all?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know if like half of these coaches are so dumb that I think like even if I thought something good that they would probably go the other way. Dable, I don't think is a complete donkey. I'm not even going to answer the question because I really don't know, and it wouldn't mean much. I have zero thought
on the slate. I think it's an interesting thing to look at though, because I definitely think it matters in a lot of cases. We've seen look ahead spots, sleepy spots, whatever people want to call them. I think, someone said, yeah, Sean, Dable's job on the line, probably tries to scheme something up. So to me, just run the best options he's got out there and get the job done. It doesn't really matter as much. They're worse in the division anyway. So I think it's going to be fine. You'll have to find other ways to get unique. Hoop, kick it back to you. Anything else at running back? If not, take us into these wide receivers. Obviously, a lot of talk around Pickens' neighbors, but you've already mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson. The chat was talking earlier about Steelers for years now, just getting crushed in the slot. So maybe that's the thing too. So what's your thoughts at wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, Pickens, neighbors, probably the two highest upside plays on the slate, I'd say. I mean, Pickens has looked pretty good. I mean, last year was not great for him. This year looks good. Obviously, last week looked good with Russ. So I think he's clearly a strong option. Captain flex, same with neighbors. Captain flex, totally fine option. But again, the one that continues to stand out for me is Wan'Dale Robinson, because I think he can get there in so many different ways. 7,800. We talked about the vulnerability with the slot coverage. He'll benefit from that. He'll benefit from if the Giants are playing from behind, which again, that's kind of what the line indicates. So he stands out to me as a very solid option. Slayton, Kelvin Austin is another guy. He's going to be on the slate, probably a mini Tyrone Taylor in terms of the ownership and the steam, just because if you run it, and we ran it and it was a pretty high number, I think we ended up getting 30% on that dry run. He's a guy that's just going to show up a lot because of the price tag, $3K. There's not a ton of super cheap options on the slate. There's not like a $200 play that stands out with a good projection. He's getting a solid projection at $3K flat in terms of the price tag. So he's a guy that if you just run teams, you're going to get a lot of him. Fine option though, for sure. And then Van Jefferson as well, 4K. I think he's all right. And then if you really want to take a flyer on a guy, Hyatt at $1,000. I think last game they threw a bomb to him. Obviously it didn't complete because there's no bombs to Hyatt that ends up in a completion. I mean, that's kind of been the story of this guy's career, where he gets these bombs and they're never converted ever, I don't think. But at 1,000, if they're going to throw it deep to him, I think you can include him in your player pool. Should not get much ownership at all. A one play sort of guy. Will he ever convert one of these bombs? It hasn't happened yet, I don't think. But maybe tonight's the night. Who knows? But it's pretty clean wide receiver position. The guys. It's Pickens, Neighbors, Robinson, Slayton, Austin, Van Jefferson.
Title, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm just counting them up. Okay. This is the guy here. It says Wan'Dale, skilled receiver, huge ceiling guy, can produce at will. 2 seasons, 2-year sample size. How many times do you think he's got 20 fantasy points?
He was injured to begin last year. Dimes can never get him. 0. 1.
The answer is 0. Literally no ceiling at all. It's a showdown slate, and his price dictates ability to put him up top. Not going to the captain conversation because I think it actually works on this slate. But when someone's saying he's a huge ceiling guy, he's not. There's just no ceiling. But it's a 1-game slate. So if he gets you his 8 catches for 80 and happens to get in the box, that could be enough. And so if you're going with him, I mean, in the flex is where I like him a lot more than up top. That's how I would use him. But just to note it, and it can bite me, but I'm just saying that's kind of the the setup. It just got to know what you've got here. Neighbors is
you need one of these low scoring type games. You need like a 23-7 type game where 18 fantasy points and his little discount from those top guys, like it's a little bit of a discount. You need that sort of game, which is very viable. We have Steelers favored by 6 and 36 point total. So that would be the argument for. But again, this could be a gross one. It's a raw point sort of slate.
That's just a number. Yeah, like Kenny's saying here, and my buddy and one of the sharpest dudes out there playing at the highest stakes. It's you're pinning exactly what Hoop just said. If it's a 36 total, Wandale's amazing. If there's 40 or 50 and you're building for something different on this slate, though, Wandale's not your ceiling guy, and it's one play, 2 plays to a couple different dudes, and he's done, and you may just need him in the flex. So I love him in the flex. That's where I was going with when I started it off. But mentioning the ceiling of it, it's really you're really hoping for that shorter game. What's this one? Just
to elaborate on the Hyatt stuff, because I wanted to make sure I wasn't a donkey, and then like this guy actually converted one of the bombs at some point. No, not the case. He has 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 targets this year. How many catches do you guys think he has? Just catches.
Probably one, because I saw one of his go routes last week, and Dimes literally dropped back, closed his eyes, double coverage, and chucked it damn near out of bounds. So how many are catchable is what I'm wondering.
He's got 1 catch this year. 1 catch on eight targets, and it's probably pretty similar last year too, and he's actually getting playing time. It is funny though.
Dimes.
You think at some point it's like the MVS Valdez-Scantling thing. Like it's so many bombs his way, and like he's finally out of the league though, right? I think it's done.
I think
now,
someone
right?
just picked. I thought someone
did someone pick his ass up because he got cut. And yeah, someone in the chat, hopefully they know on that, because that is like one of the biggest mysteries.
He's with the Saints.
He's with the Saints.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man,
again, so it's not weird stuff. It's just saying it's no
nobody.
Right? This is what people are looking at. Like 1168 can just get crushed in 2 minutes by Darius Slayton on the right slate. Right? Like 1168 is solid. But 380 and a touch, or 3,101 and a touchdown, or something like that. That's the other thing. So Darius Slayton, prime example, basically in the same situation, has 5 games of over 18, 3 of them over 20, with a couple around 30. That's again break the slate. We talk about it. We literally did it earlier this season. Again, different injuries are in place, but if there's stuff on Neighbors and it's not just the slot stuff, that's all I'm saying. I love Robinson in the slot. I love him in the flex tonight. I'm saying you got to know what you're playing for. And if you think the game goes that way, I just think it's funny. Everyone auto assumes the total is the game. It's like never that way. The whole season, we see tons of games. You're like, well, I didn't expect the Tennessee. Remember yesterday, Tennessee, Detroit. Well, like Mason Rudolph comes out balling early on, and all of a sudden the Detroit team is putting up their team total in 1 half. And then you got 50-something points just from that side. So
how good are the Lions, by the way?
Yeah, you got a squad.
Yeah,
you got a squad.
So glad you brought that up. I mean,
congrats on beating the Titans. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a nice.
Get out of here! Get out of here! 6-1, dominating the league. Like, yes,
that is your piece, though. No one's saying they're bad. I think they're incredible. I'm saying you use the Titans win as like a way to prop them up.
Hell
How
no.
good are they?
Hell no. That was just an add-on. That was just strengthening the point, man.
They are very good.
They got the pack this week with the beat up Love.
Yeah. Is that in Green Bay? I was curious. I was thinking about that this morning, and I never.
Hey, who called this though, Kenny? I always own my own stuff. I'm a fantasy fan, but the Ravens played out of their competition. I told you that, and everyone in there playing that setup.
You did call that. That was a good call on your part. You did say
every time, man. Yeah. When the Ravens, remember last year against the 49ers when I called them to win too, when the in-season Super Bowl preview. Bet the house on them because it's not the real Super Bowl, so the Ravens will win. When it's, there's no way they lose this game against Jameis Winston. Yeah, they do, actually. They lose it quite easily, and they didn't look good at all. But that's
crazy. It's easy. It's easy as a Ravens fan, though, because you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. You know how the season's going to end.
Yes.
I mean, imagine going Watson to start the year, and then DTR as the second guy with Jameis inactive. Dude. And then you like Flacco and Richardson stuff. You throw these guys out there, like these guys don't want to win. I get money in it, like contract. You got it. It's clear as day. His contract is awful and he stinks. Do you want to win or do you just want to sell the team? I mean, the leadership and everything from Jameis, you could tell the team was playing behind. Like that was a way better football team. It makes zero sense.
There's our guy. Could be Travis with the crane. See the crane?
That's the crane. Yeah, that's the crane.
From earlier, we were talking about it. Shout out Canada.
There he is.
Travis, the man.
The Bills look good, man. The Bills do look solid as well, man. mean, that's
First pick
another.
now, but that might get in Allen's head. You know, he made one mistake. Now it could start to. Before that, he had no interceptions, so maybe that'll be the straw that broke the camel's
But it goes
back.
back. Yeah, it goes back to the same talking point. Like some of these coaches, some of these guys in the front office just have to be the biggest morons. It's got to be all networking, right? It has to be all networking. Why some of these guys get jobs, like why they continue to get second, third, fourth, fifth chances. It's just networking, right? It has to be.
The Bears do fullback dive on 4th down instead of giving to running back. And
What are you doing? Like,
he
what
didn't
are
even
you
know how to
doing?
take the handoff.
Like, what in the hell?
You guys get away with at some of these spots, man, are insane. Like I said, I know
think they all. It's like they all want to be the smartest guy in the room, and they think like if that play works, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, that's such a heroic call!" Because handing it off to your running back or your fullback or your second running back isn't as sexy as giving it to some dude that's never taken a handoff before. It is literally the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life.
Couldn't do the. I hope Jameis doesn't stay in the winner's circle too long because these interviews are just a bit much too. Like
I love it.
way
thinks
too
he's
much,
a movie.
acting like he can't speak the proper. Like he has to say just his one-liners and shit. Like, come on, too cheesy. I don't know. I'm a big Jason Tatum fan. He's just as cheesy, but at least he's trying to say real words. This man is just saying quotes and shit like that. Like,
Unwavering faith.
unwavering faith. He just like interface. It's just whatever. It's the way she goes. He's a great hype man though. If you ever watches like a team stuff that he does with them, trying to pull like the Ray Lewis stuff, he is very good at that. That's where I'll give him the credit. Let's move on. Let's do a little more conversation here. Title, do you want to talk further on these wide receivers, how you see it? And then if not, you can take us into tight end after as well.
I do think it's clear. I would be cautious with Hyatt. He only got 3 snaps last week. And again, all of them are pretty much go routes, but good luck Daniel Dimes connecting on a go route.
Not a recommended play by any means. Just like if you're looking for somebody else to mix in, and he'll be like unowned again. You know what the result's going to be at the end of the night. Like the result is going to be a 0 next to his name with a freaking snowflake. Like always. Like that's not
for
anything.
Sure.
That's how it always is.
3 snaps was just because when Neighbors came back, like it was Neighbors at 93%, Slayton 100% of snaps, Wandale 84. Like they would almost nobody else. So I think it's clear as day those 3. And I like Wandale. I mean, it makes sense with his upside. His ADOT is like 3 yards, 4 yards. Why is a PPR monster on DraftKings? But the reason I like Wandale, especially a lot in the flex, is it's so much easier to leave money with him if he somehow outscored Neighbors or Pickens or either quarterback or Najee. You have an ownership discount and can leave a bunch of salary. And it's a low-scoring game. Like any of these dudes can bust. We saw Kamara, what did he score? 4 points in the smash spot on Showdown that he was mega owned. Like anyone can bust, especially these guys. So going Wandale allows you to save money off of any of those top guys, which is what I like a lot. Darius Slayton, dude's been a beast. Obviously, Neighbors coming back hurts him, but he played 100% of snaps last week. Sign me up for a guy at 5'8" that's going to play 100% of snaps, and the Steelers' defense will be more popular, 400 less right there. So I think that's a pivot. I'm going to play Neighbors. Again, I prefer Pickens if I had to pick a spend up. It's like it's apples and apples, though. Like both of these dudes are clear wide receiver ones, big-time target share, big-time upside. Steelers side, I love Pickens. The Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson stuff, like I'm going to play it, but I'm most definitely not excited. I don't think Russell Wilson's great. I think this team wants to run the football, play good defense, and when they do throw it, and more times than not goes to Pickens. So it's a showdown slate. 1 grab, 2 grabs can change everything. I definitely don't love them. Love them though.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple things real quick, just to I'll transition it to tight end, is because Darnell Washington, I know we're going to talk about Pat Freiermuth. It's still National Tight Ends Week. You got Theo Johnson and Pat Freiermuth being the starters, but Darnell Washington almost got me to the house last Steelers slate, and he's right there at 2,800, which the reason I like him, to Hoop's point earlier, a lot of people are going to have $3,000 Calvin Austin III in their lineup, $200 less. Washington's right there. And on this type of slate, again, playing for the other setup and all of that, it'll do twofold for me. I'm looking back to like what Kenny pulled up and what Hoop was talking about. Even if we get the 36-point total legit and it lands around that range, I can have like a Neighbors or a Pickens in the captain with that guy in the lineup, because then it's probably a lower scoring game and maybe just 2 catches and a touchdown is enough at 2,800, or maybe it's enough to beat the 3K wide receiver that everybody landed on instead. So I can get a double. I don't have to have Wandale up top for that, I can have a Neighbors or a Pickens or a quarterback, and I can have him down there instead of Calvin Austin. And even if it's a lower scoring game, I can still find a way for it to get there. This does feel like a slate, and maybe Hoop, I'll kick it to you at tight end first because you've talked about this plenty. This does feel more like a slate where one of these, and you already mentioned Hyatt as well, by the way, where these 1 to 3K type guys could be a part of it, right? Just so you could fit in the other four or five of the other main dudes that we've already talked about.
Yeah, I mean, Freiermuth at 62, I think definitely solid, fine option, especially in the Russell Wilson captain teams. I think that's the way to best deploy him. This Theo Johnson at 2,400, good with him. Trailing game script. Talked about the Darnell Washington at 28, fine with him, and he's not going to come with like any ownership at all. What was it? One big play? I feel like he had a couple plays last week. Yeah, 4 for 4. So 4 targets, 4 receptions, 2,800. Are they going to use multiple tight ends with Russ? Maybe that's by design. Maybe that's what they want to do. So I think he's definitely a really solid option at. It's looking like low ownership. What are we showing the ownership at? Do you have that number right there?
Yeah, it's sub 10 right now.
Yeah,
and then Austin's obviously going to be higher than what we have, Matt. We saw him standing in 30% of the lineup.
Yep.
So I have to see.
Yeah, so in on him, and then Pruitt at 400 potentially. He's the one guy that's getting some sort of a projection all the way down there. I don't think you have to go there, but he was on the field a little bit last week, 400. Again, if you're playing Russ captain teams, don't hate that. But really the main focus would be Freiermuth, Theo Johnson, and then I do like that Darnell Washington call at, I'd assume 5 to 8% ownership, probably somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I agree. Title, I'll go to you on tight end. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, not too much more to add. Yeah, Pruitt for your hoop, he was on the field 30 snaps last week. Again, I mean, he didn't really.
So they obviously want to run multiple tight ends.
A lot of tight ends.
It's clearly by design,
Connor Hayward got 10 snaps. Washington played 53%. Freiermuth 71. It's not an 11 personnel team. They want to run the ball, jam the football, not have Russ drop back as much as he wants, and that benefits these tight ends right here. So totally good with all of them. I like the Darnell play at low ownership, the pivot off of Calvin Austin, like you said. Freiermuth's a little expensive at 62. I don't know. Theo Johnson, Hoop always loves Theo. I swear him and Dalton Schultz, he says on the main slate every time. He did get in the box last week, though. I thought of you, so I'll play some. But the Freiermuth price tag's big at 62. I don't love it personally. Tambo, also throw it to you. Do you think these guys get steam? Just really Freiermuth. I don't think Theo or that. From what happened yesterday, and people thinking tight end day is going to do it again, and he's the clear guy to choose.
Maybe not enough. Last night we were talking about Kittle and Ferguson. We're talking about two really good. Saying the first time that we could look at how would the steam be affected by what happened Sunday was last night, Sunday Night Football. Two really good, and they got a little steam, but they're also legit dudes. Here, not seeing it so much. I will say I didn't talk about this off the top, but Freiermuth would be another guy I would certainly plug into the captain. It lets me fill up the middle, avoid some of those low-end plays. And if it is a lower scoring game, he can definitely have that type of line. I just looked up his numbers. He's hit 18 about as many times as Wan'Dale Robinson has, and he's way cheaper. And just to say it again, he's also huge leverage because I think Pickens is going to get quite popular. Our dry run had Pickens going in the top almost 30%. I don't think he gets anywhere near that. My point is, though, if it's telling us to take that much, other people are going to be comfortable taking 20% Pickens. So I think that's kind of the point where Freiermuth would also be some leverage to that. And then you can kind of get that just back and forth game of Russ hitting his tight end, doing a little bit with his legs on the ground. You could run a 2-4 like that with him up top, Russ in the flex, and 4 Giants. You could run a 3-3, 4-2, 5-1, whatever you want to run. I just think it's going to be naturally unique tonight. And I only really see him sub 5% up top in the captain. So it'd be a way to change it up. And especially if you think it's a lower scoring slate, it'd be a way to go for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. The captain, I almost might even like it more at captain than flex. I'm going to play some of both, but your point of it's a dead range too at captain, like if people are going, they don't love Slayton down there. Steelers D might even be just as highly owned in the captain. I much prefer Freiermuth and the upside than the war. People won't go Warren much, but Wan'Dale, stuff like that. It is a dead range really at captain. I think a lot of these high price 9.2K Najee and above is going to where a lot of people go.
I'll stay with you on D's and kickers only because I'll give my point first and then kick it. Like what you just said is perfect. And also one thing I hate about defense captains, I've been all for the 2 kickers in flex. I've been all for kickers at captain, quarterbacks break down. I think I'm there more today, even with their ownership probably being up, like Boswell. I'd rather that and have Russ break down or the Giants D show up a little bit or something and kind of close them down in those spots. But the defense captain, I can't remember very often where we get a defense captain winner and it's pretty unique. That's probably another reason why I don't get it, because it's always going to be like a 5-1 Steelers crush them. So you can get Steelers. And once I have them, I can get Wilson, my running back of choice, Pickens, and I just got to pick one dude on the other side. Like if you're going there, I would probably try and leave, 10? Man, I'd leave up to 9,000 on the table. Probably not, because Hyatt versus Neighbors is risky, but at least from Slayton to Neighbors. If I was going a Steelers 5-1 with a Steelers captain, the way I figure out from process how much money I can leave on the table is what would I be comfortable with beating the other guy. And it's probably Slayton beating Neighbors. So if everyone can fit Neighbors, and if not, they're going Robinson, I'll drop down to be good with Slayton. I know, you could go as risky as you want, and I don't think it's going to get chopped that much less, but obviously it'll be chopped less than if you just land on 10 grand and put in Neighbors. So Title, I'll stay with you, but long way of saying it's tough to get to the defense up top anymore. It just never seems to pan out. And if it does, it's not really a good split.
Yeah, like I like your example, the Slayton stuff, or you go Singletary and it'll be really different, or you jam in a sub 5% guy with the Steelers captain, maybe a Darnell Washington. You just can't go Steelers D, leave 700 and think you're good. So probably talked me out of, I'll probably X out Steelers captain too, or at least very minimal. As far as the flex though, I have interest in all of them. And that's because if this game's low scoring, why we've seen Najee bust, we've seen quarterbacks bust, Wandale cannot get there, Jalen Warren, etc. Why can't both these offenses stall in the red zone, 11 from the kicker, defenses, sacks, fumbles, all of that, and they can outscore guys 3,000 ahead of them, 2,000 ahead of them. Steelers D will by far be the most popular of this range, but they're at home. Daniel Jones stinks. It's a 15 total. I'm going to eat some of that chalk. I like the kickers. They'll be less owned, so I do prefer them if I have to pick. And really, people aren't playing the Giants, and they're significantly cheaper at 2,000 from the Steelers, and I just don't think Russ is very good personally. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing all four of them pretty heavily, I think, in the flex.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I like that breakdown. And also, this is like Tim saying, this is also just personal preference. I don't disagree with you. I think that's why it could be a little bit more popular than we usually see. And it's not too popular to not play it. I'm just saying it's not if the Steelers D wins tonight and it's a 50-way chop, I'm never mad about that. I'm not like, oh, I knew it, I should have got to that. I'm actually, I own that and I'm good with it. Last night, solo shipper with Garindo. I didn't have Garindo in all my lineups, over 100 plus lineups. If that happens, I just move on. I'm comfortable with it. I was never playing that, so I just move on to the next slate. So it's more of what you're comfortable with, how you play. But when you have something that you know what you're going to be comfortable with, you have your own process, you've built it your way and you're happy with it, that allows you to not get mad when something like that happens. It keeps your mindset fresh in the game, be able to move on to the next slate. And that's just how I feel about it. So that's me. Hoop, any thoughts from you at the kickers and the defenses here?
Yeah, good little breakdown there. In terms of the defense, I anticipate being probably right around the field on Giants defense, maybe a little under on the Steelers, because I think they probably get steamed here. I mean, people are going to look at this 36 total favored by basically a touchdown. People are going to love that. I'm not playing them in the captain. I'm just not doing that. And a lot of people will. I mean, not a lot, but I mean, they're going to captain Steelers defense is going to be a higher owned than we've seen a captain defense in a while. So I'll be off of that. Fine with them in the flex, fine with the Giants in the flex. Really like Boswell. That should come to nobody's surprise, but it seems like in these primetime games, again, no numbers on this. This is just me thinking back in my head. It just seems like anytime the Steelers are on primetime, Boswell finds a way into the winning lineup. It just really does. So I want to prioritize Boswell for sure tonight. I'll have some Greg Joseph, not going to force it in, maybe a little under the field on Greg Joseph, but out of all these, again, it probably comes to nobody's surprise that Boswell is my favorite out of the defenses and the kickers. But it does really seem like he's been on the winning lineups whenever they're on primetime. Maybe someone in the chat can dig that up.
You check his game log?
Solid, man. He's averaging 12.5 fantasy points per game, had a 26 spot, has an 18 spot, I believe. Yeah, I checked it out. You know that. Yeah,
that's pretty solid, man. So he's in the mix. I know you checked the game logs for the kickers, so I thought I would bring that up. I wish my guy NYG fan was in the chat. Dwayne, he's the man. He's always around. Super sharp dude, underrated. Not as many people probably know who he is, but he does a little bit of content. He's in way up the rankings, has good success across all sports. He's a Giants fan. He told me this before, that Daboll will bench a guy. It was actually, what's that dude's name title? Tyrod
Taylor.
He's like, one game he was playing, he's like, play the backup. He's like, he's going to get benched tonight, and he called it. And it was like same thing. He'd seen it happening. And that's kind of the setup but one thing I'll say is if you're going to play lock, if you have one lineup and you're gambling, or if you have 150 and you want to throw something in, I actually don't hate it. And I never, ever recommend this only because I have a thought around it. If one, that's stuck in my mind from Dwayne. Two, Daboll, like Sean says, seems to hate this guy. Like you could definitely see him get in there. And three, it's really, I would just play him in the flex if you're playing them, because they're probably getting crushed and already down, and somebody's already done damage, and they're going to continue to probably do damage. But it would be a spot where you could just plug them in the flex if you land there. I'm not wanting to be the guy that advocates it because I don't know if I'll even get there. But if ever there was a slate to do it, it could be the night.
Underdog tweeted earlier from a report from Jordan Brennan or whatever. Does this? Yeah, it says Daniel Jones not expected to be on short leash Monday. These coaches lie all the time, but does that singular tweet change your stance at all of what you just said?
Leans more into it because if it wasn't in check, or it didn't have to be talked about, then it wouldn't.
I'm guessing a reporter probably asked, and then he said, "Who knows? I don't know. If he came out and said that would be different than a reporter asking and then him. But if they're down 30-0,
reporters say a lot of shit, man. We know this. Oh, what was it? We just had it. Who was the guy? Oh, Puka Nakua. There's no. I mean, this guy is not going to be coming out. He's limited as shit. He barely got to practice him. We'll see what happens. Yeah, break the slate. Hawkins.
Remember when SHIPIT Nation had him projected 6 points higher than everyone else in the industry?
You remember that? I love that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've seen it. Hawkinson's only going to play the meaningful snaps. Okay, 10 in the first half, 10 catches in the first half was meaningful. A lot of meaningful snaps out there. So, and this is not a bad. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We never just throw a play out there. It's not a hot take. It technically could come across that way, but I threw pure theory behind it. I'm not saying to put him in like guy did Mariota that time in the captain slot and ended up getting all the way there to ship the solo Millie. I'm saying the fact would be is if Locke gets in, obviously he has to do something, but it's the point of I would just use him in the flex if you were doing it. People are asking, should they do it? If you're doing it, I would put him in the flex because I think enough has already happened to say enough is enough. Let's just stop right now. We got another game coming up next week. Let's get this guy in and see what happens. That would be the take. And if it's a low scoring game or if it's a Steelers smash or something like that, that might be the only points coming from that side. He would be getting the ball in his hands every single time. So look, I hate bringing it up because I never even want to be the advocate for it, but the chat brought it up. It did strike a memory for me. So I thought I would bring that up, but anything else, Hoop? If not, you can go right to the setup here when it comes to FanDuel, I think.
Yeah, so I did actually just pull up FanDuel, and it's crazy on a slate where DraftKings kind of punts off the prices and makes everyone super cheap. FanDuel kind of went the opposite, I'd say. Like they have guys like priced up. There's like no logic to this shit, I swear. But like Neighbors 16.5, that's big on a non-PPR site. But then Pickens is like 12.5, so you get a huge discount there. Pickens is going to be way more popular than Neighbors. Russell Wilson 15.5, it's up there, but probably where it should be. Daniel Jones 14, Najee Harris 13.5. So to me, the only real price break in that top tier of guys is probably Pickens at 12.5. Wan'Dale Robinson is 10K. I think he's a horrible play on FanDuel. I like him on DK, but 10K, like I just don't. I mean, it's a huge difference. I mean, it really is.
Same take as I always give. Hoop. I say FanDuel sucks, but Hoop crushes. Wan'Dale's great on DraftKings, but horrible on FanDuel. He sucks.
Yeah, love him on DK, but it's true though. Like you're playing him on DK to whatever that stat line was, 11 receptions for 70 yards. That's 18 fantasy points on DK. You take that over to FanDuel, it's like what, 11 or something? I mean, it's a massive difference. So Boswell at 85 stands out as like a really, really solid option to me. The Giants running backs are not getting a break. Tracy 11.5 and then Singletary 10.5. So Singletary cheaper on FanDuel versus DraftKings. So if you're playing on both sites, maybe you get some Singletary on FanDuel. Freiermuth at 8K, great price tag. And then a bunch of the cheapies that we talked about. Nothing really too big of a difference over there, but I'd say pricing is much more difficult on FanDuel versus DK. And as always, the quarterbacks definitely have an advantage over here, where I might not play Daniel Jones on DK in the captain. I would definitely include him in my MVP pool on FanDuel.
Yeah, if you guys want to go look title and hoop both for some winners, we got to pick two, one for the ticket and one for the membership with the double D comments. But just to look, interesting tonight on the dry run on FanDuel, getting a bunch more pickings in the MVP than we are the quarterbacks. And obviously we knew Daniel Jones would be down, but part of that, process of bringing one down, it pops somebody else up. It's going to be Pickens in this case. And it's still giving us a little more of both quarterbacks next up. But Neighbors is down the board a little bit. Tracy, maybe like you said, just because of the pricing, not even showing up in the dry run, which is interesting to me because that's just a natural way to get different. Like if the Giants do get there, I know it's not a full point PPR, but still, if you got the Giants, our guy Takedown earlier said hot take, someone called it a hot take, but Giants win. Maybe if you've got that, I wouldn't hate something like that. That would be a way to get different.
The one thing, the Giants have shown up in weird spots and gotten wins over the course of the last, I guess, couple of years where they beat the hell out of Seattle, I think, earlier in the year. Like they can pop up. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Do I think it's likely? Obviously not, but I think it could happen.
Someone's got the stat out there, I'm sure, but I think it's like the Steelers also haven't lost is it a Monday Night Football game or a prime
1942? I saw our guy Sahil in chat or something.
Okay.
I love my sample size. This is a legit sample. It is a long time.
You can't fuck with 60 years of information. 80 years, actually, whatever it is.
Yeah, some years they probably don't even have, but you know what I mean? Or they have one or something. But either way, the point being, it is a pretty crazy sample. But just to note that, the pricing is a little bit different. So certainly something to consider there. Title, did you find anyone that you like back there? You got one? I know Hoop's got his.
That's mine. I'm getting mine out of the way so it doesn't get stolen. Definitely GK Pfeiffer.
GK is a member over at SHIPIT Nation, so we'll hook him up with the $100 ticket. Just reach out to Hoop on the Discord, and he'll get you set up with your $100 ticket.
Send the PayPal. Yeah, just send me the PayPal. We'll get it fired right after the show.
Yeah, Title, what do you got there, man? Let's round it out with a winner.
Y'all see that?
Oh my gosh! What in the hell was that, dude?
Psycho, that was too good. You had me laughing good.
Before we talk, we got to talk about this for 2 seconds. Anyway, Crazy Psycho 22. Screenshot your YouTube account just so we know it's you. Send it to info@shipitnation.com, and then we'll get you set up with a monthly membership to get going. If you're already a member, we appreciate you, and we'll just hook you up with a free month, and we'll just tack it on as a credit. But just to note, we will hook you up. But now let's talk about this statue for 2 seconds. The best ever was they torched it before it came out with the lights. So people were joking that did it. And then Dwayne Wade said, "Who is that guy?" But he didn't how you thought he meant it. I swear he actually meant it. Who is that guy?
Where is the statue?
Okay.
Where did they put it?
I don't know.
That can't be the outside of the stadium statue. There is no fucking way.
Hey, dude. Go ahead. Talk about it, Title.
We need to find
out.
No,
I don't know. I don't know the answer. I hope it's not. I don't know where they did it.
I saw it on Twitter.
It's outside the stadium. It might
be. If that's outside the stadium, they got to take that thing down. It looks like a burned face, man. It looks like somebody
that's 80 years old.
Someone said he got a statue of Antoine Walker in his name.
If that's outside of the stadium, they need to
look at his face. His face.
It looks like his body's on fire. He's like, "Oh my gosh, someone come and save me! I'm burning to death."
But this is a live photo with the statue behind him, and his face says it all. Of what's going on? How is this a thing? I think it's outside the stadium. He said
that is truly outside of the stadium. That is a massive failure.
Who looked at that and was like, "Yeah, let's go with that," and unreveal it to him.
But it's crazy though, because you see all these statues come up and it looks identical to the person. There would never be a question. So why don't you just if they went through the standard statue producing company, you get something good. What the is this?
Psycho, that was a great comment, man. You had me right away.
Yeah, that is good.
That's
right
crazy.
Outside. I don't know if this is.
The Kasaya Center, because that's where it's at.
Yeah, it's right outside the front, not far from the. Man, that is an epic failure. Epic failure.
Wherever this is, yeah, that's where it's at. So I don't know. You guys saw the statue. It's one of the most interesting things I've ever seen in a while. And there is some amazing, if you want to go down the rabbit hole on X or something like that and just read through all the stuff, it's literally one of the craziest. Do you guys remember the Cristiano Ronaldo one?
Someone just said that. I got to look it up.
Yeah, you got to look that one up. They put
it's even worse.
It's just as bad. I think I just killed it, but we turned the show right off the rails now, but it's worth.
All right. We already got the important stuff out of the way.
Yeah, that one did a terrible job.
This is
that's what I'm saying though. Like every statue that comes out is like really good. It seriously looks like a full-on replica of the person. Like how is this one so far off? It's not even.
Look up the Ronaldo one. This dude's his face is like not even. Yeah, what is that?
It's like it doesn't even look like him, and then the teeth are weird. I just don't understand what's so hard about the face.
Yeah, there's bumps and everything.
Someone said it's the same company, but I don't know.
Okay, well, if that's true, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Like, how can you say, all right, yeah, like this company did Ronaldo. We want, like, why? Like, you got to say, hell no, I'm going complete opposite of this thing.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to find other ones if there's ever been anything worse. But yeah, that Dwayne Wade one is certainly, in my opinion, the worst one that we've seen in a while. So
man, there's no. I mean, you can't even tell. I mean, not even close. Crazy.
Yeah, this is what Philly's talking about. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, just do that. It's absolutely insane. Looking at them all, breaking it all down. But yeah, I think we covered enough on this one. Then we got right down to the statues. Hopefully, we can find some W's up top tonight and move off these statues. But I will say, interesting slate. We'll be in the Discord. We'll have everything up over at SHIPIT Nation. Congrats to the winners. We'll get you taken care of. Like I said, for Crazy Psycho, whatever it was, reach out, info at, and then GK Pfeiffer will get you set up in the Discord. Just reach out to Hoop for that $100 ticket. That's going to do it for this one, guys. For Title, for Hoop, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.